Amritaculture. Welcome everyone. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to get to share with all of you some of the many wonderful reasons why it's so important to learn how to save our own seeds. So I'd like to start with what some of my own personal inspirations have been behind this course, which of course is always Amma. When I was a young teenage girl and met Amma, I was so inspired to serve her through serving Mother Nature. So with her grace and blessings, I was able to start the GreenFriends table on the international tours almost 18 years ago. So we started out just as a little table in the hallway with a few pamphlets, trying to spread information about what the GreenFriends program is and trying to get devotees to start groups in their local areas. We always had a basket of tulsi seeds, and this was of course inspired by Amma, and we would take the seeds at the beginning of every program with a group of children, and Amma would bless them. And people were so drawn to the seeds, and people would come to the table just for the seeds because it's so inspiring to have seeds which are blessed by Amma, and then you know that everything that grows from those seeds, those plants, are prasad. They're imbued with Amma's loving energy. So seeds, why are seeds so important? Our garden begins with seeds. Seeds are the foundation of our garden. Even if everything else is ideal and perfect, our soil and our growing conditions, if we don't have the right seeds, if we don't start with those strong and healthy and adaptable seeds, we might not get as successful of a garden. But when we have really strong seeds, we'll have amazing plants, even if some of the other conditions aren't ideal. So seed saving is so significant for so many reasons. And over the years, working with GreenFriends, I was able to hear Amma speak about seeds on a number of occasions. And a group of us went to Amma to ask her about doing a seed saving manual. Amma was very supportive, and she actually spoke to us a long time about seeds. And she was talking about hybrid seeds, and what Amma said was that these seeds are like premature babies. They don't have the capacity and the strength to withstand pests and diseases and different harsh conditions, and they are dependent on chemical fertilizers and pesticides. And she even mentioned that sometimes these hybrid seeds are developed with that profit-minded attitude. And then she spoke a lot about the importance of traditional gardening and traditional farming practices and organic farming practices. And organic, of course, is not a new thing. This is something that was part and parcel of ancient and traditional practices. So Amma spoke a lot about this, and it really inspired me specifically to go deeper into seeds. And on another occasion, Amma spoke very specifically about seeds, and this was in 2018 during a question and answer at the Santa Fe retreat. Somebody asked, what are some of the most important things we can do for environmental protection? And we have all heard Amma talking about this continuously, but at this particular time, Amma spoke specifically about the importance of preserving and saving and passing on heritage and heirloom varieties of seeds. And Amma even said that we should go out and try to find some of these seeds, some seeds which Amma said may be with older farmers, generational farmers, because if those seeds aren't preserved, they will be lost. So why was Amma giving, or why does Amma give so much importance to this preservation of the traditional varieties of seeds? So since 12,000 years, which was the beginning of agriculture practices, people have been saving seeds, whereas nowadays we can just go out and buy our seeds, so many of us gardeners may not know how to save our own seeds. But for thousands of years, this was part and parcel of farming practices, was saving your very best seeds from your best plants that have withstood maybe a drought or a weather change, and passing those on and creating these strong and resilient seed varieties. So it's only very recently in this 12,000 year span, only 100 years ago, that we have lost 94% of our agricultural biodiversity worldwide. So agricultural biodiversity refers to the diversity of our food crops specifically, and we know biodiversity as a whole is also threatened. But when it comes to specifically our food crops, humanity has become dependent on so few types of foods. And in the meantime, we've lost so many traditional varieties and diversity. One example of this is in India. Originally in India, there was 110,000 varieties of rice that had been developed since Vedic times. There's now only 5% of those varieties that remain. And among those varieties, there was varieties that could survive drought or grow in saline conditions, or some were medicinal. So much diversity of all these different types of varieties. And so the farmer suicide crisis, which is well known to many of you, largely a big part of this crisis stemmed from the farmers' switch from their use of their traditional varieties of seeds to dependence on hybrid, high-yielding varieties of seeds. And many of these hybrid seeds are patented, so patented as well as sterile. So the farmers could no longer save their own seeds. And if some disease came and wiped out their whole crop, they would be at a huge loss and in debt. And they would often go into debt to buy the more and more pesticides and fertilizers to produce these high-yielding crops. And Amma, part of her solution, along with the scholarships for the children, but also now Amritaculture is going out and reintroducing organic and traditional ways of farming to the farmers and encouraging them to use their traditional varieties, which are so strong and resilient, and making them independent again. And that's made a huge difference for the farmers. So some of the farmers came and presented their very first harvest of organic rice to Amma. And it was amazing because the reintroduction of their traditional seed varieties had doubled their crop yields and helped them break out of the cycle of debt and gain their independence again. So what does that mean for us in our gardens, and how do we fit into this big picture? Like Amma always says, we are all connected and everything is significant. There's nothing that's insignificant. And this is really, really true for seed varieties. Every single seed variety is important. And that is something, when I learned that, I was so inspired by that. Because each and every individual seed variety might carry a trait or an adaptation that helps it to be resilient and adapt to climate change or stresses or new pests and diseases. And so the more and more of these traditional varieties that we save and we adapt to our different local areas and carry them on, the more and more resilient our food systems become, and more healthy our planet becomes as well. So I thought of this as well recently about how nowadays with the COVID pandemic, the world is changing so much. And we are seeing how we ourselves as individuals need to have the ability to adapt. And as we adapt, we become stronger. As we learn to adjust to the different situations, we become stronger inside. And the same thing happens with our seeds and our plants. Those plants, which are open pollinated plants, have the ability to adapt when there are different challenges and stresses that they face. And as they adapt, they become stronger and more resilient. And so as a home gardener, you'll find that if you start to save your own seeds, those seeds will adapt to the specific needs of your own garden's growing conditions, your specific soil type, your microclimate. And every year that you save those seeds, your plants will be stronger and more healthy and more abundant and more productive. And you can even choose exactly which traits that you're looking for in a plant. And the more and more people who are doing that, and also taking old varieties and adapting them to the current situations and carrying that on, the more and more people do that, the more and more healthy our world will be. I also thought of one more inspiring aspect of seed saving. And most of you are probably already enjoying the benefits of growing your own food, or at least starting to explore that. And you might have found how rewarding and exciting it is when you cultivate a certain plant throughout the season. Let's say you're growing a pumpkin, and all year you watch this little pumpkin growing, and finally at the end of the season when you harvest it, you're so excited, and when you eat it, it tastes so delicious, and you appreciate it so much because you know all the love and the effort that has gone into saving that, or into growing that pumpkin. So in the same way, when we put our love and our energy and effort into seed saving throughout the season, at the end of the season when we save our own seeds, and the next season when we plant those seeds, it's so rewarding and so exciting to see the plants growing from the seeds that we saved with so much love. So this experience is really a beautiful way to connect to these natural cycles of nature and to be more in harmony with these cycles. And you'll find that connection that you may already feel with your plants in your gardens deepening in a beautiful way. One final thing to remember is seed saving is not difficult. It's quite easy and fun to learn, but there are a lot of things that you need to know to get started with it. So please check it out. And thank you for joining us. Om Namah Shivaya.